I'm Jay Taylor. I'm here backstage of the October 8th Metals Investor Forum. I'm here with Tom MacNeill. He is the president and CEO of Omineca Mining and Metals. It's a company that I've just recently picked up in my newsletter. Quite an interesting story in that they have an underground placer target that they're looking to develop and actually have test mined it very successfully. But the ultimate target here is the lode source of that placer deposit. But it's a very exciting story, a market cap of around, I guess, Canadian $40 million, something like that. I think it is a very exciting story with lots of upside potential. So Tom, welcome and thank you for joining me today at the backstage here. And why don't you just explain to the viewers your story? Tell the story, and if I have some questions along the way, I'll ask you.
Sure, Jay. Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity today. The Wing Dam story is a really interesting one. It's a historical mining project in the Cariboo, British Columbia, right in the middle of the province, in the historical placer mining district of the Cariboo. There's been some hard rock mining, but mostly it's renowned for its placer mining. Quite frankly, the richest placer mining area in Canada, where the gold rush that started in 1860 ran to this day. There's still people placer mining in the Cariboo. But what makes it so interesting is the chain of events that got us to where we are today. So there's really been limited lode mining in the area. There's been about a half a dozen prospective mines in one trend that Osisko now has, but realistically, there's only been 4 operating mines in the entire Cariboo district, at least our sphere of influence anyway. And those were found after the placer miners made their way up into the hillsides, and by the turn of the century, they were finding lode gold sources, and by I think the first major strike was in 1920, and the first real lode gold production in the area started in 1933 in the Cariboo Gold Quartz Mine. That's now owned by Osisko Gold Royalties, and they're developing what is a massive project on the other side of the terrain from us, so 25 kilometers east of our project. And the gist of it is this: we came to the Cariboo in 1995 following what is now the Osisko Gold project, starting with international. It started with Wayside Gold, then International Wayside, then Barkerville Gold, then Osisko Gold Royalties, and they're spinning out the project now because it's a very large multi-deposit jurisdictional gold camp now. And we happen to be just down the block in the same geology on the other side of the terrain. So if you can picture it, they're on one side, we're on the other. And basically the rocks in between have been squished by the tectonic structural controls, and that's what created the environment for gold emplacement. So we look at it as a mirror image. What they've got, we've got on our side. What they had was the richest, one of the 2 richest creeks in the placer gold district in the 1860s, which was Williams Creek, and we have Lightning Creek, the other one. And in fact, by 1900, Lightning Creek had produced a little bit more gold than Williams Creek. So you can see the relationship there. The placer gold ends up in the creeks because of the lode gold sources being eroded into those creeks. So we have one of the richest creeks in the Cariboo district, with the potential for placer gold right next to the creek, or the creek runs through it. So that's all great news, and it makes for an interesting story. But again, the specific ground that we have, we ended up getting involved in 2009 because of the placer potential. This has been renowned to be one of the highest underground placer mines in Canadian history. It's hard to mine because it's literally 50 meters under Lightning Creek. So that creates some challenges because it's in a, not impossible, but certainly a technically challenging mining environment. We're familiar with freeze mining because of its history in the Saskatchewan potash mining industry. We brought that technology out to British Columbia in 2012 to bulk sample this project. So there's a half a kilometer decline down to the paleoplacer. We did a single cross cut across it to test mine it. We came up with one of the most extraordinary results in BC placer mining history, in that in an 80-meter stretch, we went across the paleo channel, and we did a 23.5 meter cross cut that was 2.4 meters wide. So 8 foot wide by 8 foot tall by 80 feet long. And we recovered 173 ounces of gold, which is extraordinary. When you average it out, that means that every meter or yard or so of advance, we got about 7 ounces of gold across that channel. Now we have up to 15 kilometers of potential in that paleo channel. We have 2.5 kilometers that we know there's gold under it in various forms because of drilling. And we know that in 1.45 kilometers, there was a historical resource calculated in the 1980s that gave us a pretty strong indication of what was there. So it's a non-compliant but historic resource that gave us enough information to warrant us going underground to test mine it. So long story short, we had tremendous result with that, and presumably had the gold price stayed where it was or gone higher back in 2012, we would have just been actively mining that placer deposit. We didn't, because the price fell out of bed so hard in 2013. We put it on the shelf and said, let's just wait. There's no point in ruining a good project. The gold's not going anywhere. So let's just wait it out and do some work in the meantime. And in the meantime, a couple of things have happened. One, we've done all of the technical work to mine that placer project, and we're going to get started on it very shortly here, starting with another expanded bulk sample with our partners as soon as we dewater it. And then we're going to go, presumably, just up and down the stream in traditional underground placer mining activity. But in that time, since 2012, we've had an extraordinary event in that Osisko got involved with Barkerville Gold. They've come into the story and done a great deal of drilling in the Barkerville camp just down the road from us, and have been finding gold every time they poke a hole. So we're thrilled with that outcome. In that, in the years that we've been intervening, waiting here, we've been able to get our ducks in a row as far as exploration, how we want to search for the source of all of that gold, and we've been able to watch along what they've been doing. So it's just a wonderful learning experience for us to watch them work. Now it's time to get drilling the hard rock, and that's what we're doing. We've started our initial campaign. We've permitted for 27 drill holes. We're on hole number 5 starting this morning, I believe. The drill should be turning on hole number 5. And we fully expect to have success on that initial campaign because, and this is the most important part of the story, when we liberated that bulk sample in 2012, we produced gold out of it, a great deal of it that hadn't traveled very far at all. In fact, some of it looked like it had traveled literally less than 100 meters from source. When you do gold grain morphology, you can tell how far gold has traveled in the stream as it's been eroded and down the stream beds. So some of it traveled very limited distance, 50 to 100 meters, and all of it, by our calculation, traveled less than 1 kilometer from source. So that's where we're at, Jay, right now, and it's an exciting time for us.
Yeah, you're very close then to the lode source, it would seem. At the same time, so you're expecting to have some production, I guess, with your partner. You have a 50% partner. I think it's a joint venture. The
Correct.
people that know how to do this freeze mining are doing it for you. You have a 50-50 joint venture. So I guess the idea here is to generate cash flow that you can use to go after the big mother lode.
Exactly. That was always the plan starting in 2012. Once we realized that we had lode sources potentially right there, we thought we've got to get into the hillsides and get drilling. We just didn't do that because there was no point in capitalizing the company in a bad market and high through diluting. And the nature of our relationship with our partners is designed so that we don't have to dilute to produce the placer gold. So we're starting with 300 meters of bulk sample, which would be the equivalent of 125 of the original crosscuts that we did by distance. So the outcome will be whatever we get when they're finished mining that. But the nature of the contract or the relationship in the joint venture is they bring all of their own capital equipment, consumables, rehabilitate the whole project. So dewater, rehabilitate the decline, get down to the mining face, drill the freeze holes that are necessary for the first panels, freeze them and start mining it. And when they do that, they own half the project. And by doing so, what that means is they're going to keep half the gold. They're going to give us our half. And on our half, they're going to bill us $850 Canadian as an operating expense. So you can do the simple math between 2,500 current price of Canadian dollar gold and 850. Whatever comes out of that paleoplacer will be robustly profitable for us at this level.
Yeah, low risk for you, non-dilutive to your shareholders. Very good deal. So you've got 4 holes drilled. You've got in a 25-hole drill program. Can you go all the way? How can you drill through the year there, or do you have to?
And we've applied for a multi-area, multi-year permit so that over the next 5 years, it's our intention to start drilling and just keep drilling. The extraordinary outcome down the street at the Osisko camp is the more they drill, the more they find. They've already defined, when you include the 1.2 million historical mining in the Caribou camp, and you add their current resource, they're over 5 million ounces already. They have committed to drilling 180,000 meters between now and the end of next summer. They'll drill all through the winter. And that's an extraordinary amount of drilling, probably about a $50 million drilling campaign for them. And they've already drilled, by our estimates, 400,000 meters at that camp. So very soon, we expect they'll be cresting the 10 million ounce threshold of relatively high grade gold. So 5, 6, 7 gram gold in that camp. That's going to happen fast. We're way behind the curve in that regard. We'll start drilling. We'll keep drilling. We have a high level of confidence we're going to have great success in this project.
Yeah, well, you've gone to school on Osisko and that project, which was very helpful to you. Very exciting, Tom. I really thank you for spending your time to explain this story. I think it's one investors are going to make some money on this one in this bull market. It's the right time to be there doing what you're doing now. And you did well to lay off probably the placer mining earlier on. So this is a really great story. I want to thank you very much for telling us about it. And I'll be following up for sure as covering you in my newsletter, and looking forward to talking to you in the future as well. Tom, thank you so much.
Great, thank you. We couldn't be more excited.